The rejection didn't arrive gently. It came like a slammed door on a quiet night, loud enough to echo inside my chest long after the moment had passed, loud enough to make me question why I had ever dared to hope. One minute, I was sitting under the soft lights of a cafe, rehearsing courage in my mind, and the next minute I was alone, with a cooling cup of coffee and the familiar ache of being unwanted. That night didn't just end a blind date. It reopened every old wound I thought had healed. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the idea that life can surprise us when we're at our lowest, please take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Your support keeps stories like this alive. My name is Daniel Carter, and rejection had become a quiet routine in my life. Not dramatic enough to make headlines, not cruel enough to spark outrage, but constant enough to slowly wear down the soul. I was 34, steady but invisible, the kind of man people described as nice when they meant forgettable. I worked long hours as a delivery coordinator, cared for my aging mother, and spent most evenings alone with takeout and unfinished dreams. Friends said I just hadn't met the right person yet, but after a while, those words started sounding like a polite way of saying maybe I never would. The blind date that night had felt like a last attempt at proving I still belonged in the world of romance, that I hadn't been left behind while everyone else moved forward. The rejection itself was simple and clean, almost merciful in how quickly it ended. No raised voices, no humiliation, just a polite explanation and an early goodbye. Yet as I walked out into the cold air, I felt smaller than when I had walked in. Like the city lights above me were watching a man slowly disappear. I took the long way home, letting my thoughts wander through old memories of missed chances and quiet disappointments. Somewhere between the bus stop and my apartment door, I decided that this would be the last time I put myself through this. Hope, I told myself, was expensive, and I could no longer afford it. Days passed, then weeks, and life returned to its usual rhythm. Work, home, sleep, repeat. I stopped checking messages, stopped accepting invitations, stopped imagining a future that included anyone else. It was easier that way. Safer. Then one afternoon, during a routine delivery to a community center, something shifted. The building was alive with noise and movement. Children laughing, volunteers rushing around, the kind of place that reminded you the world was still spinning, whether you joined in or not. As I waited near the entrance, I noticed a woman struggling to organize a stack of donation boxes. She moved with quiet determination, her hair pulled back, her face tired but focused, as if responsibility had become second nature to her. Her name was Emily Harris, though I didn't know that yet. I only knew that when our eyes met, there was no judgment there, no quick assessment of worth or value, just recognition. I helped her carry the boxes, and we exchanged a few polite words, nothing special, nothing that hinted at what was to come. But something about that brief interaction stayed with me. For the first time in a long while, I felt seen without being evaluated. Over the next few weeks, our paths crossed again and again. Each time the connection grew quietly, like a melody you don't notice until you realize it's been playing all along. Emily wasn't flawless or glamorous. She carried her own exhaustion, her own scars. She was a widow, raising a young son while running outreach programs for families who had even less than she did. Her life was heavy with responsibility, yet she wore that weight with grace. Being around her didn't make me feel inadequate. It made me feel useful, steady, enough. Still, I kept my distance. Rejection teaches you caution, and I had learned my lessons well. I told myself that whatever warmth existed between us was just kindness, nothing more. Until one evening, after a long volunteer event, we found ourselves sitting quietly as the building emptied around us. The silence wasn't awkward. It was full. And in that space, Emily did something I never expected. She spoke with a seriousness that cut through every defense I had built, asking me to consider a future I had already given up on, asking if I would think about being her husband. The words didn't feel rushed or desperate. They felt honest. She spoke of partnership, of shared burdens, of choosing each other not because life was easy, but because it was hard. In that moment, the rejection from my past shrank into something distant and small. I realized how wrong I had been to think that being chosen meant being flawless. Sometimes it simply means being willing, being present, being open when the door finally opens. Accepting that possibility wasn't instant. Fear doesn't disappear just because hope knocks politely. But slowly, carefully, I allowed myself to imagine a different ending. One where love wasn't about impressing someone across a cafe table, but about standing beside someone in the ordinary chaos of life. Our relationship grew not in grand gestures, but in shared mornings, in quiet understanding, in the comfort of knowing that we had both been broken and still chose to believe. By the time I realized how deeply my life had changed, I was no longer the man defined by rejection. I was a partner, a presence, someone's chosen future. Emily didn't rescue me. She reminded me that I had always been worth choosing, even when I couldn't see it myself. And in return, I offered her the same promise: to stay, to build, to believe. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that love can arrive from the most unexpected direction, please take a moment near the end of this video to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your engagement helps these stories reach others who might be losing hope right now. Before this story ends, we have a small request from the heart. Please comment below and share what this story made you feel, or a moment in your life when hope surprised you. Because sometimes the most powerful love stories don't begin with attraction or perfection, but with rejection, patience, and the courage to say yes when you least expect the question.